Hi, everybody. I'm Alice K. Ruckelhaus from SufferingWell, and I wanted to tell you today about the nuns of Compiègne, I think. I listened to so many different pronunciations of that name, but I think it's Compiègne. The guy who said it that way sounded the most French, so I'm going with that. Anyway, these women are just amazing. It was 14 or 15. No, I think it was 16. Some of them were nuns, most of them were nuns, and there were a couple of externs. I'm not really sure what that means. But anyway, this was during the French Revolution, and there were many, many Christians killed during the French Revolution, over thousands of them by guillotine, but many of them in other ways as well. So anyway, in 1790, the French revolutionary government outlawed religious life. And so in August of that year, government officials came to the monastery and they interviewed each of the nuns and gave them the opportunity to renounce their religious life, and none of them would. So they were actually made wards of the state at that point and were given a government pension that only lasted for a couple of years, though. In 1792, on Easter Sunday, the government became very hostile, and it broke into many of the masses and convents and monasteries. And so they knew that their time was limited. And so at that time, Mother Teresa, not Mother Teresa of Calcutta, obviously, because this is 200 years before that, but she was Mother Teresa of St. Augustine. And she suggested to the nuns that they offer themselves to God for France. Now, this really caught my attention because this is part of our ministry of SufferingWell. We're not like suggesting that you try to become martyrs or anything like that. Although if we're martyred, that's a privilege, right? But it's not something that we go seeking. Anyway, so part of what we're trying to do in SufferingWell is encourage people to offer their sufferings, whatever those are, whether it's a stubbed toe or whether it's something, a horrible, painful, maybe marriage or other relationship, or huge pain, maybe you're bedridden, or just whatever your suffering is. Everybody has some kind of suffering, even if it's like just a little annoyance. You can offer that up. You can say, God, I want to give this to you. Please use the grace from this to help our country, help our world. And so when I read that Mother Teresa had encouraged these nuns under her care to offer themselves up, their whole lives, not just their sufferings and their persecutions, but their entire lives, to offer that up for the sake of France. Because France at that time, the revolution was very anti-Christian and anti-Catholic, because France was a Catholic country. And so there was a lot of persecution, and obviously there was concern, because when your country turns against God, that's not a good thing. There are all kinds of bad things that have happened historically to countries who have that happen. So we would like to encourage you to do the same thing, to just say, Lord, I want to offer myself up to you on behalf of my country, on behalf of our world, because we're in deep yogurt right now. and we love our world. And if you don't love the world, if you feel like, and I don't mean in the way like Jesus said, love not the world, but don't love the world in the sense that you care about the world more than you care about God. But he does want us to love the world. God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, right? So love the world in a sacrificial way. Love the world in a way that we want, just like God wants, for none to perish. And so I'm going to tell you the rest of the story of the nuns in a minute, but offer ourselves up on the behalf of the world and say, Lord, whatever suffering I'm going through, whatever persecution I'm going through, whatever little irritations I'm going through, I offer that up. Please use that grace for our world and for our countries, our various countries that we're each praying for. Amazing things can happen. And just a reminder to those of you who are Catholics, Fridays, when we offer up penance by not having meat, that is supposed to be offered on behalf of the world. It's reparation for the blasphemies and the other offenses that are being committed, not only by us, because we're sinners too, but by the whole world. And so this, we're just saying, hey, how about doing this all the time? Because we need it right now. I mean, we really do. So anyway, so she asked the sisters to offer themselves up to God for France, on behalf of France. Then in August, okay, so that was Easter, so probably March or April, probably April. In August of that year, they were forced out of their monastery, and the Mother Superior found various places for them to hide. But they were finally put on trial. And I thought this was interesting. I wanted to read this too, if I can find it. Oh, okay, so Sister Mary Henrietta tried to force the prosecutor to define the word fanatic. She tried to force somebody to define something, okay? One of the charges against them. She pretended she did not know what the word meant, thus getting him to admit that their fanaticism was due to their religion, which made them criminals and annihilators of public freedom. And I read someplace else that they were called a threat to society. They were peaceful women who were cloistered nuns. All they did was pray. They were praying for the world. That was their job. That's what they were committed to. So anyway, so they were condemned to death. And on the night of July 1794, they were taken on a 2-hour cart ride through Paris, and they sang hymns to God at that time when they arrived at the guillotine. And I just think this is just so lovely. They were executed, I think it was youngest to oldest, and each one of those nuns knelt before the Mother Superior and asked for her permission to die. And she told each of them, yes, go ahead, go and die. So they were showing that at the very end, they were not showing allegiance to the government, even though the government was forcing their death. They were asking permission of the Mother Superior to die, so that they were not obedient to the government. They were obedient to their Mother Superior and therefore to Christ. And I just thought, wow, that's so beautiful. One of the things that happened as they were on their way there was there were a lot of people in the crowd that were jeering at them and everything. But there was one woman who offered them some water, and one of the sisters was going to take the water, just showing her gratitude and everything. But the Mother Superior said, no, don't take it now, because that will destroy our unity, because we all need to stay united. And she said, you'll get to drink soon in heaven. And I thought that was beautiful. Anyway, so Mother Teresa was the last to die after she gave permission to each of the sisters to die. Yeah, just a beautiful thing. But here's the thing too. After they had offered themselves up to God for their country, do you know what happened? 10 days after their death, the revolutionary government fell. And many, many people think that it was because of those nuns. All right, so whatever it is that God asks you to offer up, whatever he puts on your heart, find a partner who can remind you to be offering up whatever suffering you're going through. You guys, we can change the world in that way. If it's God's will, if he still wants to linger, if he wants to extend his hand of mercy, we can change the world by offering up our sufferings. All right, I love you all. I will talk to you tomorrow. Bye-bye.